Welcome to part 3. We're going to talk about the changes that the government has proposed in the employer-sponsored visas now, which are going to be implemented in 2024 as well. It seems to me that these changes might not be implemented until mid of 2024 or after that. So what they're proposing is that they're going to replace the existing TSS visa, which is the subclass 482 visa, to a visa called Skilled in Demand Visa, or SID visa, right? So they're going to have different streams under this visa as well. They used to have streams under the 482 visa as well, but under this visa they're going to have different streams. Preeti,
Yeah,
would you like to tell the streams?
right. So they are going to divide that under the three streams. One of them is going to be the specialist skills visa. One of the stream would be where the applicant would be earning about 135 or more. That would be one of the requirement, and there's not going to be any list for those occupations. Correct. So anything which is anyone earning 135 and above, they would be eligible under this stream, and this will be processed very, very quickly, about 7 days. They
That's
have
correct.
said, wow, 7 days is going to be the processing time under this skills one. The second pathway is for the core skills. This is to meet the workforce that needs a simpler or a regular updated occupation list to be developed. So there's going to be an occupation list for this one. Now, the salary range for this skills is going to be between 70,000 to 135,000. Right? Now, according to me, I guess the one person can be eligible for a core skill also, can be eligible for a specialist skills also, that he has got the skills, may have worked with an employer on this, but employer is not sponsoring them,
Yeah.
or what, so it can overlap those both of these ones. Any other occupation which will come under the essential skills, with the labor shortage focus on these ones on the lower income, so that could be probably could be 70 and below. And this is, so that means, Rajan, so Tismit is going to go away with 70 then?
No, TISMIT is only going away for the specialist skills pathway, as you mentioned earlier. So obviously under the specialist skills pathway, which is not available for trades workers, you're gonna have to earn a minimum of $135,000. So you can only get sponsored if your employer is willing to pay you $135,000 per annum. So there's no occupation list, except that the trades workers and some of the other occupations are not allowed under this stream, but there's no occupation list as such. So if you belong to any occupation other than those little exceptions, and an employer is willing to sponsor you and going to pay you $135,000 and above, you can get sponsored. So there's no occupation list as such for this, right?
Another change that they talk about is that right now, currently, when from a temporary visa of a TSS, we have to move to a permanent residency, we still need the employer to lodge a 186 visa. So in the new reforms, they are talking about that applicant would be able to move to the permanent residency without the need of an employer. So, but the pathway, the details of those ones, so that would be either through the skilled or would be through the points test, or they would not need it and they would have shown that they can provide, they are in the best interest of Australia and they have already done their part of being into that skill list or what, we don't know. So those details are yet to come, but these reforms mainly they have done so that there is less exploitation for an applicant, and also they do not have to stay with the same employer only. If they wanted to change to an employer, they can change an employer, and the duration, which is currently 90 days or 60 days depending upon the visa you are holding, is going up to 6 months.
Yeah.
Another changes that they have implemented, which is retrospectively, it has already been implemented, is removal of the workforce. And for an LMT, currently we need 3 advertisements and the workforce was mandatory. Now that's been removed, and for a 482 TSS visas, LMT is required only with the 2 job adverts are there.
Yeah, so
Right.
that's a good thing. So
Yeah,
they are
exactly.
actually making it easy for the applicants actually. So as Preeti said, they've given the employees 6 months time to change employers. If they're not happy with the first employer, they will get 6 months period to find a new employer, which is a really good thing.
And with
They
the
cannot be
work rights.
exploited, yeah, with work rights as well. That's
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So during those 6, applicants will get 6 months to actually change employers, and this reduces the element of exploitation by the employers now.
Yeah.
So that if employee is not happy with the employer, they are not worried about that their visa will cease. They still have 6 months visa where they can work still for another employer, and then they can find new employers willing to nominate them. And so it obviously will give them the freedom to leave the current employment and not tie them up to the current employer and tie them up to the visa anymore. So it's a good thing, I reckon.
Yeah. And even about the staff levy also,
Yeah.
when they were talking about today. So currently, if an employer has to sponsor someone, they have to pay a staff levy of a nomination fee which is $330, and the staff levy of about 1,208 or 1,800 depending upon the turnover, up to the number of years the sponsorship is. So for example, an employer is sponsoring someone for 2 years, so they have to pay 2,400 as a staff levy for an application which is being paid upfront. Now, in the reforms and the changes, they are talking about it will be only paid after and would be in some kind of an installments or a monthly or quarterly basis. So it looks like that once the nomination is approved and employee is still working with the employer, then they would be paying. Something on these grounds looks like, which is very good for the employer.
Good.
Imagine, yes, the exploitation was from both the ends.